this video is proudly sponsored and made possible by Squarespace. Gameplay, this is not a drill, we have actual gameplay! Welcome to chaomix. And welcome to Sonic Frontiers, apparently. After almost an entire year since the initial teaser back at Sonic Central in 2021, we finally have gameplay of the highly anticipated Sonic Frontiers. Do good things come to those who wait? Well, there's only one way to find out. So let's do a deep dive analysis on the IGN first world premiere gameplay and see what Sonic Frontiers seems to be all about. We start off with a brief intro from IGN, explaining how the month of June is going to be all about Sonic Frontiers. Nice. This video specifically is about exploration, with more videos focusing on different aspects to come in the very near future. And a good opportunity for me to say, hey, subscribe! I'm gonna be covering and analyzing all of the future gameplay footage as well, so if you like this sort of thing, you should do yourself a favor and subscribe. But anyways, during this intro we actually get a few glimpses of some new and unique footage. So we'll be starting the analysis off right from the very beginning of the gameplay video. The very first thing we get to see is this downward angle on a huge chunk of land, and we have a ton of stuff in frame here. The first thing that immediately stuck out to me, and probably the first thing a lot of you guys noticed as well, are the floating rails. They're kinda just floating there in the sky, which, don't get me wrong, isn't anything out of the ordinary for a Sonic game. Sonic Adventure 2 had entire levels that were basically just that. But I do gotta say, they look really jarring here, and I think it's because of a couple of reasons. First, we usually don't get this high of a draw distance, so rails as far back as these ones wouldn't even be rendered on screen in most Sonic games. And second, they really stick out like a sore thumb against the realistic environment. Maybe if they were disguised to be more similar to the rest of the ancient-looking terrain, they'd fit in better, but they aren't. They're essentially just black lines going across the skybox. Honestly, they almost look like a graphical glitch. Anyways, enough dunking on the rails, we'll see more of them later on, and you'll hopefully see what I mean if you already don't. As for the rest of the terrain, we'll get a much closer look at it throughout the gameplay video, so let's just continue on. Besides a few familiar scenes from the previous trailers, we get two more snippets of new and exclusive footage within this intro. The next one shows Sonic running along a cliffside where we can see one of those spiraling lookout towers in the distance. Again, I'm pretty sure these are meant for scouting out interesting locations to explore and also filling up portions of your map, very similar to Breath of the Wild. And sorry, no, the Breath of the Wild comparisons will not stop here, because if anything, as you'll see, this entire gameplay video makes it even more obvious that direct inspiration is being drawn from it. Anyways, there's a few new things we can see on screen here. The first are springs, a legacy stage object existing within the series since the first game. Except instead of a star in the middle, they have these triangular shapes in them. They almost look like arrows, but the direction they'd be quote-unquote pointing at wouldn't really make sense since springs always send you straight up relative to where they're pointing. We'll see this triangular shape appear a few more times throughout some of the other architectures, so keep your eyes peeled. We also have some metal boxes, which are destructible objects found in a lot of the 3D Sonic games. But most interesting of all, there's this bright pink heart floating right here in the middle. So now I have to question, does Sonic have his standard ring collection mechanic to represent his health? Or is there going to be a new health system involving hearts, similar to something like Legend of Zelda? Unfortunately, the HUD is turned off for this entire gameplay showcase, so it's really impossible to know for sure. But we'll get a few hints at possible HUD elements later on in this gameplay. The last scene within IGN's intro is another shot of Sonic looking out at a portion of the map with some more rails and bridges. Nothing too noteworthy here, so with all of that out of the way, let's move on to the actual gameplay showcase. We start off with an entire segment of Sonic climbing up one of these spiraling lookout towers. And as you can see, there's quite a few interactable stage objects like rails, dash pads, and springs to help him climb up. And they work basically exactly how you'd expect. So Sonic makes his way to the right side and breaks some boxes surrounding a spring, showing us our first tiny glimpse of combat within this game. He then takes the spring and some air dash rings to get up to a section with one of those heart collectibles and some metal barrels. But first, look at that little expression here. I love it. Anyways, the barrels at the top are destructible as expected, and we can see Sonic breaking them with another quick punch. Inside of the barrels, there are these diamond-shaped items that Sonic collects, and you can actually see them trail off into the corner of the screen. I'm presuming this is a similar effect to Sonic Unleashed, where when you collect rings, they magnetize into the corner of the screen right into the HUD. I always thought that was a cool effect, and it would be pretty cool to see it come back. Sonic then jumps down from the side and towards the end activates a stomp, confirming that the stomp is indeed in this game. Random thought, but I wonder if there's fall damage in this game, and maybe activating the stomp at the last second prevents it, similar to how a ground pound in 3D Mario games do. The player does tend to use the stomp whenever landing from a large height throughout the rest of this video, so it does make me wonder. Anyways, Sonic makes his way around until he reaches another spring where he homing attacks into. However, he barely leaves the ground before performing it, and I've seen some people on Twitter think that this might be a spin dash. Personally, I don't think so, because we don't see any form of the spin dash throughout the rest of the showcase, and the effect is exactly the same as the homing attack. Unfortunately, I don't think the spin dash is even in this game. But anyway, Sonic takes this spring and transitions to wall running straight up the tower along this dark purple path. It seems that paths with this color are able to be scaled straight up, making it easier for the level design to be a bit more vertical, adding to the overall openness of the game. Once Sonic is finished scaling up the wall, he turns towards his left to discover a group of purple coins. At first glance, I was 100% sure these were little Chow head shapes on the coins. But upon closer examination, this symbol is actually what looks to be a fish hook. Big purple coins, fish hook, does this confirm that Big the Cat is in Sonic Frontiers? God, I hope so. But it's also possible that this might mean that there's a fishing minigame, given how we're on an island surrounded by the ocean. And if so, I'd imagine you'd be able to craft food similar to Breath of the Wild. Having a sort of survival element would actually be pretty awesome. And maybe the food would be able to give you certain buffs, like extended top speed or faster acceleration, for example. So Sonic collects these coins and we can see them vanish with a very similar cyberspace effect that Sonic's new boost in the trailer has. It makes me think that they're being stored in some other dimension or something. Maybe in cyberspace, where the alleged cyberspace levels take place. Possibly they might be able to be used there for some type of shop, using these coins as currency. So Sonic then cycles back and makes his way to the rail. He attaches to it, and this is the exact moment where I start to panic. As you can see, Sonic starts grinding up the rail like you'd expect. But he's going at a constant speed, not losing any momentum from going straight uphill. In something like Sonic Adventure 2, gravity would eventually take over if you lost enough speed, and you'd actually start sliding down the rail. It made it so that momentum was a huge factor in approaching not only rails, but basically everything, making for a super engaging momentum-based movement system. But this makes it seem like momentum might not even be that much of a factor, if at all, which is honestly really disappointing. We will see more of this lack of momentum as we continue on with this video. But for now, let's move on to Sonic making his way to another one of these vertical walls. But after running for a brief moment, he actually stops and begins to climb. Alright, we really Breath of the Wild in here now. I'm guessing that this is something that can be activated at your own discretion, maybe in case you need to collect an item and running is too fast. Because after a few seconds of climbing, Sonic goes back to running up the wall like usual. Although climbing is a bit weird to be in a Sonic game, I suppose more movement options are better than less. So alright, I'll take it. The next thing we see Sonic interact with are these spherical balloons used to chain homing attacks together. They seem to function exactly like the balloons from Sonic Generations, where they pop after being used. Hopefully they respawn after a few seconds, but the player continues on and they go off screen before we can see. Sonic then goes through a series of rail loops, springs, and air dash rings, and finally makes it to the top of the lookout tower. At the top, we can see this triangular plate on the ground. It's a very dark color, which makes me think that these are lit up initially, and upon reaching one for the first time, they reveal a section of your map and then become grayed out like this one is now. This is pure speculation though, so we'll have to wait and see whenever its actual use gets confirmed. But it's here where we actually get a really good view of the environment. More a series of rails in the sky that look a bit awkward, this floating upside down pyramid we still don't know anything about, some of these UFO looking facilities on the ground, and this group of pillars and some shallow water in the far distance. So after taking in the environment, Sonic makes his way back down using some rails. But I gotta really quickly point something out. It's a really minor nitpick and it has to do with animation. When Sonic rail switches, he's supposed to flip towards the direction of the rail he's transitioning to. But in this game, it looks like there's only one animation no matter which direction you're hopping towards. For example, when he transitions from the left to the right rail, he does a backflip but moves forward. What should happen is he should be doing a front flip so he's moving in the direction of the rail. Like right over here, Sonic switches from right to left and does a backflip again because it makes sense, because he's flipping towards the direction he's going. Minor nitpick, but this isn't the last time you'll be hearing me rant about weird animation. There is more to come throughout this gameplay showcase. But moving on, we actually get our first look at the boost right here. Right before the rail ends, Sonic activates a short burst of the boost, bringing him to top speed. Unfortunately, the gameplay showcase has the HUD disabled, so we can't see any details of the boost meter, like what it looks like or how much boost meter costs to perform one. And we don't get to see it for too long, but from what we see later on, it's a lot toned down both in its strength and its visuals compared to previous boost games. And it isn't just the boost, but also Sonic's space speed that looks to be slowed down. Some might immediately think that this is a bad thing, but actually I think a slower boost in base speed is a good thing. One of my first ever videos on this channel was actually about how modern Sonic is too fast. He blows past the levels way too quickly, making it so that the scale of the levels needs to be insanely large, which is a huge strain on the developers. It also only really works in more linear level design. Slowing Sonic down will definitely give more control to the player for 360-degree movement. Overall, this seems to be like a hybrid playstyle between Adventure and Boost, and I'm all for it. So Sonic shoots off the rail through an air dash ring, collects a heart, and stomps towards the ground. But if you slow down the footage, you can see some really gross poppin', like the level isn't able to load fast enough. And there's a lot more of this to come as we continue on. But right next to Sonic, we can see this hourglass-looking statue with a glowing green light. I'm guessing these are timed side quests that you can partake in at these statues. And we can also see this little question mark icon, which I'm guessing explains exactly that, along with some more specific details about the time trial. But besides that, we can actually see one of the Titans off in the near distance. Unfortunately, Sonic ignores him, but we will be seeing this guy in closer detail in the combat gameplay video, which I'll be covering next. So yeah, subscribe. Anyways, we now fade into our next gameplay segment. But before we go any further, I'd like to say that this video is proudly sponsored and made possible by Squarespace. Squarespace is the space for your online presence. Build and grow your brand with their powerful tools, allowing you to easily create your own website to host whatever it is you're trying to do. Whether that be selling products, hosting content, offering services, Squarespace is the platform for all of that and more. Use their sleek custom templates to customize your website to perfectly reflect your brand. Then connect your social media accounts to share your beautiful new website to all your followers. Embed videos from third-party websites, organize them neatly on your page, and even sell access to certain content all right in one place. And Squarespace also offers incredibly useful analytics, so you can get insight on things like where website traffic is coming from, your most popular products, and which keywords work best with your audience. Head over to squarespace.com for a free trial to start shaping your dream website. And when you're ready to launch, get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain at squarespace.com/chaomix. Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video, and now back to the analysis. Right off the bat, we can see another one of those hourglass statues just up ahead. But what Sonic seems to be more interested in is this huge ramp, which launches him up onto a series of floating platforms. On the way up, we can actually see an enemy here, which the combat gameplay will show off more in depth, so we won't worry about for now. Sonic proceeds by using various obstacles to progress, and we can see some more of that pop-in I mentioned earlier right here with this platform. This thing isn't even that far away, so I'm not sure why it isn't being loaded properly. But anyways, we can also see the same area that was shown off during the intro of this gameplay showcase right down here. Also, over here it looks like Sonic does a double jump, exactly like in Sonic Colors and in Sonic Forces. We then get a glimpse at a new collectible after Sonic breaks these metal crates. Some sort of red fruit with spikes. What could this fruit be used for? Well, I might have an idea, and it'll become easier to explain later on, so let's continue for now. We'll be seeing more fruits later on, so keep this in mind. But Sonic eventually makes his way back on the ground. And it's here we can get a good look at this almost tent-shaped rock. I don't think these are anything too special, but I'm guessing they house a few items inside them. We can actually see a series of them back when Sonic was grinding down the spiraling lookout tower just a bit ago. And it looks like this one here might have an entrance for you to get inside and maybe collect a few small items. So Sonic uses the boost a couple more times in short bursts, and we can see some more floating rails in the sky looking like some loose debris. But now we get to see a series of rails on the actual ground this time. There is some nice flow here as Sonic jumps from rail to rail and finally collects a heart. The player then turns up this hill and starts running along this red bridge, which has another enemy on the other side which they again choose to ignore. If you look in the background over here, we can see one of these pillars with a circle-shaped hole in it. Actually, you can see one more in the very far distance over here as well. I explained in my previous analysis video how I thought that these were checkpoints. In theory, when activated, I'm guessing the circular-shaped hole fills with light so you can see which one is the current checkpoint, just like in this shot from the previous trailer. In this case, this one is blank, so Sonic would be able to run over and activate it to make it his new checkpoint, in theory. And of course, if he ever died, this would be the point where he would respawn. We can also see this double-pronged vertical structure in the distance on the right. Lots of different tall statue-looking things throughout this game, but I can't really pinpoint what this one is supposed to do. I guess we'll have to just wait and see for more gameplay. So Sonic then sidesteps off the bridge, confirming that the sidestep is in this game, and we can see yet another enemy in the near distance. We also get to see this one in the combat gameplay, so we'll touch on this guy in the next analysis. So Sonic does some more rail grinding with all these elaborate loops and makes it back to the ground. He then starts running along this creek, goes up this wall, and would you look at that? We got wall running. So one of my theories from my previous analysis videos turned out to be true. So Sonic is able to wall run on these horizontal paths in a very similar style to Sonic Lost World. Unfortunately, the player only uses it for a few seconds, so we can't see if there's any actions you can perform while wall running. While wall running, Jesus. Like the spin dash, for example, but hopefully we'll see more of this in the near future. So Sonic does some more platforming until he gets to this trick ring, which looks a bit glitchy in terms of visuals. I'm honestly not sure if it's supposed to look like this or not, because the trick rings are usually rainbow colored. This is all, like, spotted and it flashes on and off really abruptly. Anyway, Sonic gets launched up into the air and does some of the most janky looking trick animations I've ever seen. Wow. I mean, compare this to Sonic Generations. Yeah, this is a huge downgrade. But we can see with each trick, some kind of energy is coming from Sonic and going into the lower right of the screen, presumably into some kind of hidden HUD element. This is the same energy effect as those diamond-shaped items Sonic collected towards the beginning. So what I'm guessing these are ability points used to unlock new abilities. It's kind of hard to explain in this video, so I'll save it for the combat analysis since a ton of abilities get shown off there. On Sonic's way down, we can see this field of glowing blue pillars. Because they're glowing, I feel like they have some sort of function. Maybe doing a spin cycle around them does something. And we can also see another one of these checkpoints, or at least what I think is a checkpoint. And what I think to be a group of enemies lined up for a homing attack to get to this area with the glowing blue pillars. We then get to see another boost, this time a little bit longer than the short burst the player has been using before. And then Sonic takes some springs up to higher ground and does a few more janky looking tricks. We then transition into our next gameplay segment. This next segment of gameplay is actually pretty uneventful, just Sonic solving a basic puzzle and opening up a path. It does kind of look like a similar path from the previous trailer, so I guess there's that. But we get our first really good look at the spin cycle in this next puzzle segment with the torches. Apparently, one function of the spin cycle outside of combat is to emit an upward gust of wind that can interact with the environment. We can see it being used here for blowing out this set of torches. I have a feeling this gust of wind will be used for other types of puzzles too, so we'll have to wait and see what Sonic Team cooks up for us in the future. Solving the puzzle spawns in another fruit, but this time a blue one. And yes, we will be getting into what these things might be, hang in there just a little bit longer. But Jesus, I gotta point out the awful pop-in on some of these environmental pieces again. Like, it takes over a second for it to pop in, and it's right next to the player anyways. I'm pretty sure this isn't intentional. Anyways, this next segment of gameplay shows some faster paced on-foot traversal, starting with Sonic running through this spiderweb-shaped bridge. On the other side, there's this pop-up with a treasure chest symbol pointing towards a glowing blue spot on the ground. I'm guessing there's some sort of puzzle you have to do on the bridge and you can complete it to get an item. But I gotta be honest, the biggest thing I noticed here is the clear lack of momentum. As Sonic runs downhill and doesn't really gain any speed, or as he runs uphill and doesn't really lose any speed. Pretty disappointing, but we do get to see a really good example of boosting both on the air and ground during this section. Again, the boost seems to be slower than in previous games, and I think this is a good thing. Besides a few instances of messy assortments of rails, there isn't too much here to comment on except for Sonic's movement itself. I remember it was at this point of the gameplay showcase that I started to realize I'm not really seeing the point to any of this traversal. Like, you got a bunch of springs and rails that lead you around, but couldn't Sonic just like run in the direction he needs to go? Sure, it isn't as cool, but it doesn't seem like there's much incentive to go the more scenic route. This gameplay is focusing on exploration, but why should we be exploring? What do we actually do in this open world? If it's only for the hearts and fruit like they've been showing us, that's going to get old real quick. And since there's no momentum, controlling Sonic isn't all that engaging. So unlike most Sonic games with momentum, where simply controlling Sonic is inherently engaging and fun, this game has to rely on reusing the same objects and items for player engagement. I mean, even something as simple as the terrain itself feels bland. To me, it seems very generic, not Sonic-like at all. It's almost like an Unreal Engine tech demo with the realistic mountains and hills. If this is a Sonic game, I'd expect some Sonic terrain, but I'm not really seeing any of that. There's definitely this empty feeling with what we have now, and I'm pretty sure it's because none of this iconic Sonic terrain exists in this overworld. Anyways, back to the gameplay. Everything Sonic passes up is something we've already covered, so let's move on to the second to last segment of gameplay, which is another puzzle. This one is pretty self-explanatory. Sonic has to walk across each glowing square once in one consecutive line. The player fails once, possibly to show off what happens when you do fail, or simply because they messed up. But I mean, to be fair, this puzzle probably would have taken me, at least 2 tries to complete as well. But upon completion, a scanning effect emits outward and another fruit pops up to be collected. Okay, yes, we can finally go over what I think these fruits do. You see this little rock-looking dude in the corner of this puzzle jumping up and down, and this taller one when the camera zooms back to scan the environment. Alright, now keep this in mind as we go into our next scene. Here, Sonic makes his way over to this giant hamster wheel looking structure where he goes inside of it and runs in order to power it up. It does another one of those scan effects and another fruit pops up. But what's really interesting here are these little creatures, the same that we saw in the previous scene. They're pretty dang reminiscent of Chao, if I do say so myself, but with some noticeable differences. If we zoom in over here, we can get a good look at one of their faces, which seems to be made up of little tiny holes. Kind of reminds me of the gyroids from Animal Crossing. And instead of a sphere floating on the top of its head like a Chao, it's a leaf. We can even hear them making little baby noises like how Chao usually do. Here, take a listen. If these are in fact Chao, they might be a more ancient variation, or forms unique to this specific locale. On the other hand, they might be completely new species. One thing I've noticed is that they seem to hang around these items with the scanning effects, most likely because the scanning effect spawns the fruits. I'm guessing you're able to give these little guys these fruits and they can possibly grow like this taller guy we saw over here. So yeah, if Chao are in this game in any form, I'm probably gonna get out of my chair and just start screaming. Anyways, that was the IGN first world premiere gameplay showcase of Sonic Frontiers. Overall, the game looks like it has a lot of potential, but I just feel like it isn't there yet. With some janky animations, awkward pop-in, and questionable level design, this feels more like a tech demo than an actual game. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit worried. This game has already been delayed by an entire year. So it makes me question what the heck Sonic Team has been doing this entire time. The development schedule just doesn't add up to me. This game is slated for a holiday 2022 release, which is less than 6 months away. This is not a lot of time for game development. Sure, they might be able to fix a few surface level issues within that time, but I see a lot of fundamental problems with this game that could take way more than just a few months to fix. And the game has to go gold at some point before it's mass produced and shipped out. That also takes time. I do not want to rely on a day one patch for this game. I really don't want to have another Sonic Forces incident where we just assume the game will get better before release. I've been seeing the hashtag Delay Sonic Frontiers trending on Twitter, along with the hashtag Release Frontiers Demo, and I think I'm in favor of both of these things. It would be really beneficial for the fans, and especially Sega, if they were to release a demo and get constructive feedback on the things that work and don't work. Then they can take this feedback and delay the game to implement it. Guys, trust me, I want a new Sonic game as much as the next guy, probably more than the next guy. But I'm not sure if I can wait another 5 years for another Sonic game if this one turns out to be bad. Sonic Team has been taking more time to develop Sonic games, which I think is great. This is the longest a Sonic game has ever been in development. But if they aren't using this time effectively in order to make good games, I don't really see the point. I'd rather they delay the game and give us a good product than rush out a bad product and then have to wait another 5 years for another chance to get a good Sonic game. And that's just a chance, not even a guarantee. The Sonic movies are doing phenomenal right now, so are the comic books. Sonic is getting another TV show. So why is asking Sega, a multi-billion-dollar company using a AAA studio to make a good game, an impossible task? We should all be raising our expectations because at this very moment, for the first time in decades, all eyes are on Sonic. As a first impression, this didn't really do it for me, but I'm still holding on to hope that Sonic Team can make the right decisions and turn this game around for the better. Anyways, this has been my analysis on the IGN first Sonic Frontiers world premiere gameplay. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to be in the loop on any major Sonic Frontiers reveal. In the comments below, let me know what you thought about the new gameplay. Did it meet, exceed, or fall below your expectations? And to take that discussion even further beyond, make sure to join our community Discord. I'll leave the link to that in the description. And finally, you know I gotta thank my amazing channel members. You all make these videos possible in the first place, so again, thank you so much. If you'd also like to become a channel member for only $2, along with getting some pretty awesome perks, press the join button beneath this video or go to the channel membership link in the description for more details. And with all that being said, I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Peace.